Hi, you should subscribe to the Monaresclub. Because the Principal of Saiyans told you to, idiot. Bye.
Hey everyone, today I'm talking about the new SSG Trunks Crimson Warrior deck. He draws a lot of cards, and that's pretty cool. And our build is a little more aggro than a lot of the decks out there, so I hope you like it. On his front side, you choose one black card in your hand and you send it to warp and you draw 2 cards. When your life is at 4 or less, or there are 5 or more Saiyan cards in your warp, you may draw 1, flip him over, normal awaken. And then on his other side, he is a blocker, and he can restand when your your unison is attacked. So he can restand once per turn and block for your unison, or you could just restand and then you could block for something else if you wanted. And then when he attacks, he draws 2 cards, and then you send 1 to your warp. So all of this is really great for setting up your warp, getting it ready to go, for all the great things that you're going to be pulling out of it. And then he also has this activate main once per turn spirit boost. You pay 1, you place 2 cards, 2 black battle cards from your warp to your drop, and you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to its owner's warp. So this is great just for, clearing up some of their big boss monsters, some big horrible things that they have going on. So let's start out right there. So we have a lot of what we have is kind of the Gogeta package here. And they're also great because they're all Saiyans to help awaken him. So we have Son Goku challenging a demon god. He's just a great, play 1, draw 1. And he's a 5k Son Goku. We have 4 of the Son Goku True Fighting Spirit. He's great because you can play him, and he has this great ability. He has Deflect. You can make him a 15k if you want to make him a Self-Awakener. And then he also has it that if your opponent uses a counter skill, once per turn, they have to warp a card. So that's, we have 8 5k Gokus as part of our Union package. Then we have 4 of these Vegeta True Fighting Spirit. Kind of a very similar thing to the Goku, only he's a Self-Awakener and everything and has Deflect. Only he has the ability that once per turn, if someone tries to pick up their energy using a non-awakened skill, then they have to send 1 card to warp. And the other half, 4 cards for the Vegeta, is actually your super combo, which is a little unfortunate because sometimes it means you need to warp away a super combo or something like that in early game if this is what you happen to have in hand. But it's just kind of what makes the deck work. So 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these, 4 of these. And then we have 4 of the SS3 Gogeta Thwarting the Dark Empire. This card is just bonkers. If you haven't played with it, unique, double strike. You can overwhelm it for 6, but usually you are union fusioning it with these 2 cards, and you can send them from warp to drop area to do it. Cost 1. And then when he attacks, you choose one of your opponent's battle cards and send it to its owner's warp. And he's a 25k double strike, so really good. This is kind of part of the aggro core of the deck, right? So turn 1 and 2, you're throwing these away. Turn 2, you're often playing a Gogeta. And we have 4 of this SSG Trunks Power Awaken. He is a dual attack Deflect. If he's removed from the battle area, he leaves the game, so you can't sit there and reoccur them all. When he attacks, you place up to 3 battle cards from your warp into your drop, so he helps fuel some overwhelm. And then you can play him essentially for 2. If there are 8 or more cards in your warp, you can play him from warp. Then we have 2 of these SS3 trunks, challenging a demon god. If there's 10 or more black cards in your warp, he gains double strike, and then you can play him once per turn with spirit boost for 1 energy. Turn 3 or more energy or later. So he's kind of a nice 1 cost later in the game that usually has double strike. Then we have a lot of overrealms that are really helping, you know, fuel this pattern that's going on here where things cycle from your drop to your warp. Trunks, time regulator, just an all around great card. When you play him, draw 2 and then choose 1 and send it to warp. So he's adding cards to your warp and fueling, you know, your awaken or fueling, you know, some of these other things going on here. I mean, it's just a 15k beater. Then we have time 2, time patrol trunks. Very similar, except when you play him, you look at the top 2 cards from your deck, choose 1 of them to your hand, and put the other on the bottom, top or bottom of your deck. Similar kind of card, just doesn't put the card in your warp, you know, which is a little unfortunate, but. And then we have 2 Secret Identity Mass Saiyan. Same thing, more overrealm, and helps wipe your opponent's board. And then we have 3 Pan challenging a demon god. This is your main negate. You play it for 1, and it is kind of a topo-esque ability. But it only costs 1. It doesn't negate the current attack, but it only costs 1. So you send 1 card in your hand to warp, and when it's played, your opponent can't attack with battle cards for the turn unless they choose 2 cards in the hand and discard them. So it only affects battle cards, but it only costs you 1, and it doesn't negate the current attack. So yeah, middle of the road. But it is a black Saiyan, which helps for your leader. We are playing 1 Champa because this deck is a more aggro version of the deck. Our secret is Pan because we get a lot of bodies or have the ability to get some nice bodies out on the board. And often this will just win you the game, you know, turn 4. You'll swing a bunch of times, play this, get the win out. We have a secondary negate. This negate will usually be on board, you know, turn 2, because you'll have 3 or more things in your warp, and it will cost you 1. And then it's, you know, when you play it using counterattack, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards, send it to warp, and then they get it back. So you could negate 1 attack and then send another card to warp, and you essentially stop 2 attacks in a sense with it, which is really cracked in a deck like this, which essentially just immediately puts it live. For some of these cards to work, you do need your Unison. The Unison is middle of the road. It's not like super amazing. But as I said, it does help you. It could help you awaken turn 2 if you really want to push hard. You could play it turn 2. Use its +1 where you send 3 cards from the top of your deck to your warp. So that will hopefully, if you hit the right combo of things, send you to 5. Then you can awaken. If you have Gogeta in hand, then you can play Gogeta, right? That's kind of the dream turn 2 scenario. She also has this auto that anytime you play something from your warp, so, you know, any of these guys, then you are drawing a card and adding a marker to her. And she's a 15k, so, you know, you get a swing off of her, which is nice. And she also helps fuel your leader ability, which, you know, helps with some later game kind of control going on. We are playing 4 of the Birth of the Crimson Hero. I just think this card is great because no matter what, you can have it in your warp and you can be giving your leader +5k on your opponent's turn, on your turn. It's kind of like you could be out of cards in your hand. They could swing thinking you don't have any combo power. You have some secret combo power. And it will burst 1 to fuel Overrealm, which can be nice on your turn. It also has an activate main that you can look for up to 5 cards for I think it's a Black Saiyan, one Black Saiyan with energy cost 5 or less. So you can't find Gogeta, but you can, or Mass Saiyan, but you can find almost anything else. So that's pretty nice. I wish it found Unison. I think if it found your Unison, that would make it just that much better, obviously. But, and then last we have 2 Super Kamehameha, just to kind of finish out the deck, help give you that push, that final aggro push. So that's the deck. We'll kind of look at a basic mulligan. Usually, as said, I like to play this deck really aggro, really get some hard hits turn 2, turn 3. So usually I like, the main thing I am looking for is a Goku or a Vegeta, possibly both. Because I want to make sure I have one in hand to send to warp with Trunks. Often, if I have a hand and it has like, this or something, I might, send one of these away and keep these 2. Mainly because this is a better card to play later on when you think they're going to be countering you. But also I want to make sure, I usually throw the Vegeta away first, only because I would rather have this in the warp than to have to throw my super combo away later. I will also often, my ideal play is often to put this in the warp and play Birth of a Crimson Hero for 1 on turn 1. So it can kind of depend. I will often, because you also draw a card. You may also, if you end up bursting some things, you're saying you might be looking for some of these things that you can warp as well later. Let's say you, I would really say if you don't see a Vegeta or a Goku, you hard mull to see a Vegeta or a Goku. I don't know what else you would want to keep in an opening hand. I think one of these 2, or even maybe these, are the best 2 that you could see. Because worst case scenario, you could always play him to hopefully draw another card. If you get another one, like if you end up drawing this, you could always throw this away and play this to draw more and see if you get the Vegeta. But number 1 things you want in this style of Trunks deck is this, because you want to be playing this Gogeta as soon as possible. The secondary thing that I usually keep is a Unison. Very few, I don't know if anything in this deck actively lets you look for your Unison. Because Birth of a Crimson Hero only looks for Saiyans. And this card is booty butt cheeks if you throw it away. And this card will help you awaken on turn 2. So if you have this in your opening hand, I might keep that, even if you didn't have a Vegeta or a Goku. Maybe. If you really didn't have Vegeta or Goku, it would depend on what your opponent was playing. So I gotta say, hard mull for, one of these. Probably one of these. But this is fine too, instead of this. So this would be next, I'd say, because I like it as a turn 1 play. But all of these are good. There's a lot of good turn 1 plays here. So yeah. Lastly, I will just go over a little how to play. I feel like the deck really just plays itself, which is one of the things I really like about it. Is that it's just really smooth. Your leader kind of has this ability that, you warp one, so you warp your Vegeta, you draw some cards, you warp your Goku, you draw some cards. Oh, it's turn 2, you have your Unison, you play it, you burst. Let's say you perfectly burst, This is a black sand, this is a black sand, and one of these black sand. You know, you burst. Just gonna, this looks horrible, I know. You're all cringing right now, I understand. Let's say you warped, this is in your warp, you're like, perfect. I can awaken. And I can pick up an energy. And then I have this Gogeta in hand. And now I can play him. Turn 2. I have a Unison in play. Wherever it went. I then can awaken. And I can play Gogeta. Pop something on the board. Swing, swing, swing. You're dead. You know, maybe because of this. So when you play Gogeta, you know, you take this boy and this boy. And you put them in your drop area, right? Here, this will be a warp, and this, oh, sorry, here we go. This is your warp, this is your drop. Let's say I swung with him, and then I swung with my leader, and I don't know, had some garbage in my hand, I comboed with it, put it here. Let's say I had this Time Patrol Trunks in my hand. That seems great. Maybe I drew him off of my leader ability. Because what's nice is on this side, this is activate main to do the draw cards. If you wait and after you awaken, this is when you swing, right? So then you draw more cards. You can draw a lot of cards on your awaken turn. So you draw this. You're like, cool, I got 3 cards in my warp. Play that. Play that. Draw some more cards. Swing, swing. You've already done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage. Turn 2. Or they've thrown a bunch of cards away to stop you from doing all that damage. Then you go to the next turn. Next turn, you got a bunch of threats on the board. They got to deal with that. Well, you got Gogeta. Gogeta's a threat. But joke's on them, because next turn you got another Gogeta. You play that again. You swing. This time you gotta play something else. You now have this in your drop, because either you burst it or you drew it and discarded it with the Crimson Warrior here, your leader. You know, you burst a few other things in here, or you got some things from your Overrealm. You play this boy. He's got dual attack. You also can put some of these things back in here. And then maybe you got one of these boys. You play that too. Look at all this damage you got on board. Turn 3. Murder time. So, you know, that wasn't like a hardcore how to play, but that was kind of the basics of the deck. I just feel like it's buttery smooth. Once in a while, you might stagger on that awaken on turn 2. If you have a straight line and you feel like you would rather kind of play it a little bit slower, you don't have to play the Unison on turn 2. You know, you could just go straight into the Gogeta, and you could play, you know, something that says counter. Maybe you're playing against a blue deck and you're like, you know, I got a little time. Maybe you want to play this Vegeta that says they can't pick up energy, and then you play a Gogeta. Then you say, haha, joke's on you, try to sensu beam now. Something like that. So, and then you wait to awaken till the next turn. Just know that you draw a lot of cards when you awaken, which is why I prefer to try to push for it turn 2. But just know that then if if you play this and you can't awaken, if you can't get it's all based on luck then. Or then you have to swing with something like this, and you might have to combo from hand enough things that you could overwhelm first and then awaken, or something like that. There are other ways to get the awaken turn 2. It's just a little messier and often requires like an overwhelm card or something like that. Or you can wait till turn 3. It's up to you. So thanks everyone. Thanks for watching. I hope you've liked it. I hope you like this beautiful, horrible mess I made. This beautiful pan right here. I hope you watch more of our videos. Subscribe if you're interested in more. And we'll catch you on the next one. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Till I get up, time is barely on our side. I don't wanna waste what's left. The storms we chase are leading us, and love is all we'll ever